Welcome back to Two Canadians at Kafe Lise, a Vigor podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Dr. Anton, and with me is the other host, DJ Spencer.
Hi.
Hey. It's episode 49, and today we're going to be doing a discussion. We're going to be talking with a YouTube creator who works with Christopher Beast. So we had Christopher Beast on over a year ago. It's been a long time now since Chris was on.
Episode 17.
Episode 17, yeah. So 32 episodes ago.
Don't forget to comment. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Yes. Please do all that. We do appreciate it, and it does help out. And if you're listening on a podcast app, if they have a rating system, please rate us. We it couldn't hurt to help people find us. So that's all appreciated as well. But yeah, we're going to be doing this basic discussion. We're going to be chatting about Vigor, the new season specifically, and the person we're going to be chatting with is Boborail. So let us get to it here.
Hello.
There we go. Hello, Bobo. Yeah.
I'll introduce myself a little bit here. Yeah, I've worked with Chris on his channel primarily for the last almost 4 years, going on 4 years, but 3 years officially. And yeah, I've just been, for the most part, the channel has been a big brainchild of both mine and his, where we've been talking back and forth about games in almost this style format, but just not recorded. Like I'll get on a Discord call or Skype call with him for hours at a time, just talking about the theoreticals and all the bells and whistles of whatever we're working on. And then eventually the product of that is the videos that we upload, what we think the best ideas from those conversations are. And as a result, we're here now. Long time of making videos. And I also went to trade school for a while for video editing.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. So this is video editing in general is one of my biggest skills, biggest traits, and Vigor is the way that I push that out. And definitely, for sure.
Excellent. Do you have other content that you, other than just Vigor, that you currently work on for video editing, or is it mainly just the Vigor videos that you guys do?
Now, I've done a lot of different games and whatnot. Now, in a professional sense, I've done a few internships for school districts and for different companies as well in the video editing space. But when it comes to not just expressing myself, but in actually enjoying the projects I work on when video editing, instead of it being work, it's definitely more in the Vigor space of things. But in the past, I've done some stuff with Hunt Showdown. I think my first video was actually on Battlefield 5, but mostly Vigor. And then in just the last year or so, I've moved to do a lot of work on Isanzo, and which is a World War I FPS. But yeah, in general, I'd say I work not exclusively in Vigor, but pretty exclusively in the tactical shooter genre of games. And within that realm of it, whether that be in commentary or informational sides of that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's cool. You do Hunt Showdown. I know DJ's been streaming Hunt a bit, and I've downloaded it, but I haven't even tried it yet.
Oh yeah, it's great. Yeah. I love Hunt.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like honestly, between Vigor and Hunt, it's like I have no playing time because it's all I want to play between the two of them. It's like I tell everyone, I'm like, I love pretty much everything about Hunt. The only thing that's missing is like the looting aspect, because I love looting,
I agree.
right?
I agree for sure.
And it's like it's great because you got the quick play that you somewhat have the looting, but you're basically like trying to get weapons, but it's not the same. But
right,
like, I still love it. Right? Give me one of those like where survival is key type games instead of battle royale where it's like you die and just like
yeah.
No consequences, right?
I like consequences in death, whether that be in I play a lot more games than I make content for, mostly just in terms of like how much energy I can put towards a game. I want to put if I'm working on a video for something, I want to put as much energy as I can into it to make sure that it's a good finished product.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, so my Steam library is pretty freaking big. I play a lot of Tarkov. I play a lot of Squad, Insurgency.
Oh, nice.
Like I said, Hunt. Then Hunt, Vigor, all sorts of stuff. Ready or Not, as of most recently, I bought that
Okay.
on Steam.
Okay.
But all those are like, they're fun, and the consequences towards death are all very apparent. It's just not
hmm
as like, nothing compares to me for me to extraction based stuff, which I also
Right.
Yeah.
I've played a good amount of Tarkov, which people consider to be the original extraction based shooter or whatever. Um,
hmm
but I don't know. I think Tarkov gets too much credit, quite frankly, in the extraction genre. But I don't know. It's hard to put a. I wouldn't necessarily say Vigor's my favorite either of all those games, even though it's what I work with the most. But I like them all for their own reasons. And
hmm
Yeah.
yeah.
I like
They each
Vigor
have their
for the
uniqueness to it, right?
yeah. I like Vigor for the balance, I guess, as opposed to like I I say Tarkov is like the extreme where getting killed in Tarkov has a lot of different ramifications for you. There's like one, your health, you have to get it all healed up and all that, and if you don't have the stuff, it could take a while if you don't have the money, especially. Two
Mhm.
is the weapons and money. You take so much time to custom build a weapon sometimes to go out there and then lose it right away, right? And you might have
hmm
insurance that might help you get the stuff back, but um, more often than not, you're not getting it back.
Yeah.
But then you get something like Hunt, which doesn't have it. It kind of has a little bit of extraction, I'm assuming, because with the quick play, you're saying you can go in to get a weapon, but that's
Well,
so
no,
you have to sort of.
you're not keeping the weapon.
Are you
No,
not
quick
okay?
play
See, that's
is literally
I always have
yeah.
have a hard time understanding Hunt.
So quick play is essentially about the battle royale mode, and
Oh, okay.
if you win, you basically get a sole survivor, which is like a hunter with like special skills and whatnot. Uh,
Oh, I see.
I don't play a ton of it because I'm terrible. There's no skill based
I mostly
matchmaking in
play
it.
Bounty Hunt as well.
Exactly, and it's like I play a ton of that, and like I do much better. But that is like you can go in, just go in to get some XP to like help level up your hunter and then
Right.
extract. But like the big stuff is like getting the bounties and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Okay.
But
So then
yeah,
that's sort of it's still kind of on the other end though. You do kind of want to you want to extract with Hunt, but
hmm
it's not the same. Whereas in Vigor sort of in the middle where you could lose all your stuff, but losing your stuff's not a huge thing in Vigor because it's
Of
after you
those
play for a little
three
while.
of those three big extraction shooters, Tarkov, Vigor, and Hunt, I would say Vigor is definitely on the most casual out of those three in terms of
Mhm.
like,
yeah,
not even necessarily forgiveness, because Hunt might at times might be more forgiving if you were to die, but it, when it comes to just the way the UI works, the way that the game is structured, in in you equip your character, you get into a round. It, Vigor definitely has what I would consider to be the most streamlined version of that, and
oh yeah,
that is Tarkov. To me, would be so perfect if it wasn't for that major shortcoming in the UI and the gameplay mechanics and how they interact with one another. Like there's no Vigor has presets, right, to build a loadout instantly
yep,
with a click of a button. If
Yep.
Tarkov had that, it would be so much better, and people have been asking for it for years and
yep,
years and years, but nothing. Still, it doesn't exist. So when you die in
yeah,
Tarkov, the penalty is I have to sit in order to get into another
yeah,
raid. Not just the healing aspects. Like honestly, the healing aspects aren't that bad, but the worst part of it for me is if I die, I have to sit there and rebuild a
yeah,
gun and re-equip every one
yeah,
of these healing items, and
yep,
so
Yep.
it takes it's instead of just the time consumption that comes from extraction based shooters, and something Chris has complained to me about a lot in playing extraction based shooters, and it's something I agree with, is when you're playing an extraction shooter, Hunt Showdown, you're lucky if you run into 4 or 5 players in a game, right? Throughout the entire match, I'd say. No, you run into more,
I
you
don't.
think?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you run into a lot
Yeah.
more? Like, I don't know.
Maybe it's the
I've
style of play.
my
Maybe how you play.
no,
Yeah.
it's
No?
just I've had lobbies where it's like you may not have big lobbies, but because people aren't burning bodies, you're getting a lot of fights or engagements.
Repeat fights, yeah.
And like I've had instances where it was like three trios type thing, and like we're a trio, so somehow it's like a 12-person lobby, which I think is the max.
Mhm.
And it's one of those ultra rare occurrences, but I've had it happen a few times, which is
Yeah.
kind of surprising. But like on the other end of the spectrum, it's like I've gone in with a random trio, and literally the only other person on the map was a solo. So it's like matchmaking
Yeah.
there is like sometimes very, very strange. And like I had one random, I think a couple nights ago, saying like, "Is this game dead?" Because literally I haven't run into anyone tonight, and I'm like, "Well, I just finished a game where like our team had like 7 kills,"
Yeah,
and I'm
that's
like,
crazy. See,
like
I no,
yeah,
I've had both. I've had both. I definitely agree, but that inconsistency of it in the
mhm,
nature of just how extraction shooters match make. I mean, it's better than battle royale, at least in that,
yeah,
like, you don't need to fill 100 players a server,
no,
but the fact that you have normally big maps with small player
mhm,
counts in order to facilitate this super tactical experience, like that's what's required. I wouldn't expect anything else, and as a result, the issue me and Chris have run into repeatedly is that you can play for 2.5 hours, right? And you can get a total of like 10 minutes of footage because you either, if you die once, then
yeah,
the level of punishment for deaths becomes as a content creator becomes not just that your character loses those guns, right? Or not just that
yeah,
you're running out of materials, but that you need to get good gameplay in order to use it, in order to make it worth something for the viewer.
yep,
And as a result, like, little mistakes become huge. And especially when you have such a small, like if I was playing Call of Duty, there's 10 players, but there's respawns. So like you can go
yep,
in and constantly die and constantly keep repeating. And I can, in 10 minutes of gameplay, I say got 20 kills, and the chance of me getting like a good clip in that is so much more likely, like
yep,
astronomically higher than if I was playing Vigor trying to get clips, or Hunt trying to get
yep,
clips, or God
Yeah.
forbid Tarkov getting clips. Like people have asked me in the past, like some of my friends who play Tarkov with me, "Oh, dude, you should make Tarkov videos." Tarkov's video market is so saturated with other
yeah, it
content
is.
creators, and B, that sounds like just pure hell. Like I could not bring myself
Yeah.
Yeah.
to slog through
Hey,
matches and try and do content. It's hard enough trying
yeah,
to get good, satisfying gameplay for me to play,
yep,
let
yep,
alone for a viewer to watch. Like
yep.
it's insane to me.
I would say the same thing too with Hunt. Like Hunt is a
Hmm.
lot smaller than Tarkov, but like compared to Vigor, it's like the category is like 10 times bigger, probably even like 20 times bigger.
Yeah.
So,
In terms of general viewership, you're saying?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, viewership numbers, like content creators, like pretty much
Hmm.
everything. I find, but like talking about your content creation and stuff like that, like I honestly love the work that you put into your cinematic gameplay stories type thing. Like you have like it shows off your your skills because you have like excellent taste in like the music, and like you're good at working like the camera in game, and like
Hmm.
the way you like do everything about it. It is like I don't know. I think I made a couple of comments on the videos where it's like, hey, like this is like
Yeah, yeah.
really good. I love
See,
it.
and that's the content that it's hard. It's hard because on one
Hmm.
hand, I love doing informational videos and providing a service to the community.
Yep.
Like we were talking about before we started recording, that guy Exclusive Ace in Call of Duty who does all those stats and whatnot. I really like providing that service. I like the idea of doing damage tests and
Hmm.
explaining mechanics in the game down to their finite details, but that is incredibly taxing. And a lot of times it comes down to, do I want to spend 3 hours sitting here doing damage tests, or do I want to spend 3 hours writing out a script of what I want to happen in a gameplay story, you know? And
Yep.
and generally it's hard to choose which I prefer, you know, the analytical style commentary where I'm just talking about what the direction of the game is, or what mechanics need changing, or, you know, practical things, versus
Yep.
just the other side of it, which is just the cinematic atmospheric side of things.
Yep.
And if I'm playing for enjoyment in any case, the one thing that all of these games I have in my Steam library have in common, or it's they're all very atmospheric, and they all lean
Mhm.
into the like even Tarkov, you know, I was bashing it earlier, but it's very like when you have no HUD and you're carrying a AK walking through the rain, like that is so pure. And
Yep.
and same with Vigor. Vigor even amplifies it so much to me in a way that, like, oh my god, just when you're walking through Grandtime, and I play almost exclusively with no HUD, like mostly because I never know when I'll be like on a roll gameplay wise, and I'm like,
Oh, okay.
oh damn, I should press record right now and then write
Yeah.
something out. In fact, that's exactly how that scout video happened, which was the most
See,
recent
I
one
love
I
that one.
did. That one
Yeah.
was like I was just playing pretty good with the VSS, and then I was like,
Yeah.
you know, let me just press record and see what happens. And then I took that
Mhm.
raw footage, and I was like, you know, this could actually work in like
Yep.
a narrative.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the challenge at the moment with that, is finding what gameplay will fit a narrative, and also like just trying to, you know, when I'm playing, am I playing for gameplay purposes, i.e. the narrative side, or am I playing for analytical purposes, i.e. the testing side of things?
Mhm.
And when I have all these different games that I enjoy the atmosphere of for different reasons equally across the board, it's hard to, you know, I already have to choose a game. Now I have to choose, what way am I going to play this game? Am I
Yep.
going to play for the cinematics or analytics? And
Yep.
it's a lot. It's a lot to try and
Totally.
manage. It's a lot of trying to try and think about, but generally it comes down to just buckling down and producing content, whatever that ends up actually looking like, regardless of what side I end up choosing. I'm
Yep.
always happy with the final result of it, and so long as the video comes out. And I mean, dude, that being said, like, of all the stuff you guys have seen, that the community has seen of the work I've published, there are like, for every one video that's released, I'd say there's probably 5 to 10 that have been caught in drafts, or just have been ideas that were
Right.
developed through conversation. And I don't necessarily regret it, the lack of not making those, but
Mhm.
because I understand the time commitment that would be required to fulfill every single one of those. Like, that would be an astronomical amount of work, both from an editing point and from a creative energy standpoint. But
Mhm.
I just, I don't know. I have a lot more cinematics in the works that I want to fulfill. I have a lot of ideas that would require a perfect gameplay, and I have the vision for it, but I need the right lobby for it, you know, like,
Yep.
oh, I want so badly to do a series of different game, you know, like, you always, as a content creator, what I want more than anything, the thing that makes valuable gameplay, is not necessarily me like turning and instantly flick shotting somebody. It's not necessarily
Mhm.
me being amazing at the game. It's
Yep.
a back and forth of people missing shots, people maneuvering, people pushing, and that leaves
Yep.
the most room to fill narrative, you know. That's where I
Yep.
could put a voiceover, or even not just a voiceover, but just an edit that like shows like, you know, I'm moving to the right or something and I see somebody out of the corner of my eye. I zoom in on the character or on the enemy in the corner of my eye, and that tells the viewer what I'm thinking in that moment while I'm moving. And that is what makes it, that's what makes it content in comparison to just being regular gameplay that was unedited, you know. Like I have a lot of respect for other gameplay YouTubers too, who just, you know, they throw an intro on it and then they leave standard gameplay as well. But I think when it comes to the potential that can be had from a good round that I get in whether that be in Vigor, Hunt, Tarkov, whatever. I don't record Tarkov, but in any game that I'm recording, what makes a good round is not necessarily just kills. It's the cinematic elements that improve that for sure.
Cool. Is there one video that you're really proud of?
I really like Scout. I mean, I already referenced that, but I mean, even dating back a long time, there was one that was very similar to Scout called I think it was called The Russian Soldier or something.
Yep.
And
I remember that one.
And that one was like the tandem back and where me and Chris were playing duos, and as a result, I feel like that honestly was one of my favorites. Where it really, I don't know. I feel like it just worked well. Otherwise, I think I did a lot of those cinematics as well. For Tannenberg, like those cinematic type videos. That was the Battle of Baikau, I believe was the name of that video. I also had some video essays on Tannenberg. This is like over a year ago now, thinking back, but those were more on just like atmosphere and things of that nature, and I really like those a lot. So, you know, to a degree, I guess I do find finishing the cinematics more fulfilling than the regular analytics, which is difficult because at the same time, I think there's it provides a service to have those analyticals, and I like doing that, and I understand what it does for the community, but at the same time, it's not 100% what I want to be doing at all times.
Some of it too, like when you're doing that kind of stuff, is kind of like, I don't know if the word is mundane, but it's like,
it's mundane.
You know,
it's mundane.
It's very repetitive work. Because like I actually the last time I talked to Chris on Discord, like chatting through Discord, I was like, listen, I have an idea. I don't remember if I had shared it with Doc, but I'm like, there's no way we could do an episode on this, because I'm like, I don't know how many encounters it would actually take, and I'm like, I literally would not have time. I'm like, if you want to throw it out to, you know, like the people at VSL to, like, you know, try to get this info and, you know, make a video for, you know, out of it type thing with like the data, but I'm like, I can't do it. And he's like, that's actually not a bad idea. But I'm like, it's very something, like I said, mundane, where it's like, go into an encounter, do this one thing, get out. And I'm like, I don't have time for that. I don't care about my stats. Like, honestly, it would probably drag down every stat. But I'm like, it's the time factor, right, of doing something like that. But like, would it be useful to the community? 100%. I think it would be worthwhile. And it's actually something like, it's something that apparently should be known in Vigor, but like they don't want to. So essentially, basically, you are supposed to get materials for deconstructing items within the encounter. Okay. It is supposed to be known, but apparently a lot of people don't actually know about it. So my idea was like, okay, what can you deconstruct and how much materials is it going to get you? Type thing.
And you need to find the control group for how many materials you're going to get if you extracted without breaking that down as well, based on your, because it gives you scaled XP based on, or scaled materials based on the XP you get in that encounter when you leave, if I'm correct. Like, if I was to
I thought it was if you died. it was
Yeah,
scheduled.
if you die.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the thing, is you'd have to survive. So you go in, deconstruct something, get out alive, ideally,
Yeah.
because then it kind of makes it a little simpler. But again, it's
And
like that is so mundane because there's so many materials. You go through all the weapons, you go through like resources, you go through, so like it's something like, I don't know.
In fact, I think
Again,
he
Doc, I
brought
don't
this up
remember.
to me.
Did he?
Chris
Oh my
did
god.
at
Okay,
one
so sorry,
point,
it was my
several
bad.
months ago. No, it's fine, because no, like for in this realm of things, like I said, we talk about a lot of these analytical stuff. So when it came to not just that, but so many things, like into like those Discord calls where I would talk to him about just Vigor theoreticals, video ideas, brainstorming and whatnot. Every one of those is so filled with how many freaking factors there are, how many of these analytics can be turned into a video, and it's it's very tedious.
Yeah, for sure.
So, anyways.
I've been thinking, and my favorite analytical video by far was definitely the grenade Mythbusters I did at the when they first dropped, because everybody wanted to know how they worked, and I took it upon myself to do that with a lot of Photoshop graphics too, and different things to show exactly how the grenades worked. And eventually we found that shrapnel just does not exist. It's simply a blast radius, which is really kind of sad. I wish it was shrapnel based, but at the same time, I don't know. I feel like I'd also get headshot randomly by grenades, random distances. Regardless, the amount of time it took to make all those graphs, to run all those tests in the preview build, even like I could not imagine doing that in live rounds. But like, even with the preview build, it was very hard. And
I remember hearing like the excitement between like you and Chris in those videos type thing, because it was like, I remember you were even trying just to see like, is it going to destroy an alarm trap type thing, and it was like, you guys are getting all excited over tossing grenades, like go 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 go. I loved it too. Yeah, it was a good one.
Those are great. And I wanted to do it with flashbangs. I really did. But in terms of like the time commitment to do graphs on flashbangs and all the different materials that it could go through, like if you're standing next to a window, does it flashbang you? Is it doing this? Is it doing this? And I remember there was just so much going on between Vigor itself, and because that was the first set of cassettes is what it was, and or something around there. I remember there was a lot to do in the lore place. There was a lot with other games going on. There was a lot in real life going on that all kind of prevented me from just sitting down and pumping like what would have been 6 to 8 hours worth of work, even with the preview build. I'm like, and I had the preview build because I game share with Chris, right, on Xbox.
I was actually going to like get to that at one point.
Yeah, I had it for the last 2 years, and then like 5 months ago now, I think it suddenly just disappeared off my Xbox, and I haven't been able to get it back, which is such an L, because I could have been like, it makes me regret not doing all these damage tests and whatnot. But at the same time, once again, the amount of time it would take to sit down and do damage tests and then go through, like, we got like halfway through shotguns before my preview build was lost. I have over half of the shotgun damage ranges recorded and saved as files on my PC right now, but like I don't have enough to completely finish the video. And doing that in live encounters again takes a willing teammate who's willing to sit there and just get shot over and over again at 5 different ranges. I think we did 10, 15, 20, or 10, 15, 30, 50, 100 for all the different shotguns. And with pellet spread, random pellet deviation at those distances too, it's such a headache. It's so hard to do. And and at this point, I don't even know if there's a big enough viewership for it in the Vigor community to justify that many hours of sitting down and shooting at nothing, basically. Like,
I was going to say too, like, is all that footage like pre shotgun?
No, that was right
rework
after
or
the
after?
shotgun. It was right
Okay, it
after
was
the
right after.
overhaul is when we
Okay,
started. Yes, and then
mind you, they did get tweaked. I think once after that.
again, I
If
know,
not,
and that's
yeah.
another headache because
Yeah.
like they could change any range of these damage values, any range of these
Yeah.
weapon mechanics, and suddenly 8 hours worth of editing, recording, and gameplay is now completely irrelevant because of
Yeah.
one update, one small
Right.
minor update that tweaks them the tiniest bit, makes all this information completely, even if they
Or
own, yeah.
or you could record a whole podcast episode about challenges, and they literally get reworked
Yeah,
Revamped.
less than 2 weeks after that.
It's
Like,
See,
devastating.
I wonder what that's
I'll
like.
take it. Yeah, I'll take it. It's fine. It's an improvement, anyways, as to what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Or was, anyways. So
No, I agree, and it makes me, I kind of want to talk about Vigor's new content cycle now and shift directions a little bit into modern day Vigor, because quite frankly, I hate to say this because I love Vigor so much, but I've been disappointed. I've been very disappointed as a player in that, and infinite. So with Vigor's current content right now, both in weapon balance and in the maps that exist right now and everything that goes on, I could make a infinite amount of content with this because I could do so many cinematics on different maps with different narratives, with different things, and even I remember I touched on tactical breakdowns a little bit in about a year ago. I was making some of those videos too, and I could make dozens of those videos, and I would never run out of content, and I would continue to enjoy the game for those reasons, and I still do enjoy the game, but I'd be lying if I said these updates come so few and far between in terms of how much that, in my opinion, that like, I don't know. It's hard to justify playing Vigor nowadays for me because I love it, and I for the cinematic aspects of it, but there's nothing new. It's the same game I was playing since 2 years ago when it comes down to the core root of it, and I've been waiting for a very long time, since the very beginning, for a big overhaul, whether that mean something to the shelter, whether that means something to the actual gameplay loop. And what I've been thinking of most recently to fix that with the new challenges UI in particular is quests. Quests is something that could completely change the way Vigor works. But give me some feedback here, guys. Like, how do you feel about Vigor's modern update cycle? Because personally, I feel it's too few and far between. A gun and a consumable isn't enough for me to hold player retention.
Well, for me personally, like, I think they need to learn how to pivot quicker. Like when it comes to like hot fixing and whatnot, like we do get the occasional. I think we're seeing more hot fixes, but that's only something new that they've been trying out, right?
Yeah.
So like in a way, that's a good thing, but like it's just been so long, right? And
I also
like
wonder with the hot fixing thing, like, yeah, they've been doing more hot fixes lately, but is that because they're not properly testing in the back end before releasing? Like they've increased these, they've increased these seasons now so that they're 4 months, they're doing 3 drops a year, and they're 4 months a season. They're extremely long. It's supposed to be so that they have more time to work on whatever, specific goals that they're trying to do. But then they release a new season out, and it's hot fix because there's all these little issues that just pop up, right? And it's like, is that because they're not
they're
testing
releasing
properly,
they're releasing pretty broken and require a lot of hot fixes. And honestly, when it comes to bugs and glitches, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like I at least in my end, I don't run into that many game breaking bugs, quote unquote, in Vigor, hardly at all.
Yeah.
Like really, the game plays completely fine for me, both in every lobby. But I don't know, for like how long these seasons are, one gun, one consumable, it still seems crazy to me how little gets produced in the content.
And like when you go to talk about like game bringing, but like everyone was losing their minds about the shelter
Dude, I
reset
did
type
not
thing.
care at
And
all.
it's
At
like
all. No.
I don't care. And it's like the one thing too that was kind of curious though was like from all the preview build videos that I saw
Mhm.
or streams, it's like it wasn't broken. So like obviously there's something that's out of sync between like the test
The test build
servers
and the live build. Yeah.
and the live build, but like again, like you said, it's not game breaking type thing.
No, it changes nothing. Absolutely nothing. It was
But
purely cosmetic, but people got all up in arms over it, and that's what the
yeah,
devs choose to. I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't have prioritized it. I mean, I guess it was an annoying bug that should have gotten fixed pretty quickly,
it,
but still, it's like
it's what it's what the loudest in the community essentially wanted to get fixed, right? Because
and
you go
yeah.
like on Reddit and it's like, what is this? My shelter's broken, blah blah blah, and it's like literally nothing. It's just visual.
Yeah, and the
Like
community in general has always focused on very misplaced things, in my opinion.
yeah,
Like what I've seen, update after update is whether that be bugs, whether that be certain balancing issues, whether that be
mhm,
all sorts of different things. People choose to freak out about the smallest things, and then that makes the devs switch attention to things that are completely irrelevant, like that just do not need change at all.
yeah,
And I mean, when it comes to the meta, I'm not going to say that the MG meta has been like perfect or anything, but
oh
M249 really pissed me off when it had
yeah,
its 200 round mag. But after the first hop, or after, I don't know, it was
the
like
hot
what,
fix,
2-3 months ago, where they cut the mag
yeah,
size and made it a little worse. Like honestly, I feel like it's been fine since then in terms of
mhm,
that. I just think in terms of meta, SMGs need to be brought up a little bit. ARs need to be
yeah,
brought up maybe a little bit as well.
mhm,
And then the game is perfectly balanced, in my opinion. Once you bring
yeah,
up SMGs and once you bring up ARs,
yeah,
I think it's fine. But
yeah. But that like I've been like I've said it probably for well since the machine guns got buffed or
Mhm.
reworked, I should say, essentially since the start of last season, was this is my least favorite meta since I've been playing since the end of season 3. But but
Mhm.
the thing is like the issue is kind of like exasperated or
Yeah.
maybe that's not the word, but because the seasons are so long, right? Like it's
Yeah,
4 months
Yeah.
of machine guns, and it's uh, like I didn't mind beforehand where it's like you get like the odd machine gun here, but now it's like
Yeah.
most lobbies it's like you're getting 2 3 type thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
The weapon frequency has
it's
definitely shifted in favor of that. And
yeah,
and yeah,
yeah.
and yeah, and
it's
the
frustrating.
unfortunate thing too is I don't remember if it was this past dev stream or the previous one. I actually posted a question in chat because they said in the past where they're not going to do anything more about the machine guns until uh, all the other weapon classes are reworked, right? So
Yeah, so
there's
when's that
pistols,
happening? When's that
SMGs.
happening though? Is
Yeah.
like we've been
So,
waiting on this for what? Almost a year now, over a year now? Like it's
uh, the
since
shotguns were the last ones or the first
yeah,
ones
yeah.
that got
Yeah, yeah,
reworked, right?
shotguns
So
and marksman rifles were
whenever that,
same update, then MGs
yes,
after that, and those
yeah,
were what, 4 months apart, maybe something like that. It was one season then another season, I think. They,
yeah. So maybe like 6 to 8 months, I
yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
And I mean
so
that was
yeah,
fine. I was cool with that. And
yeah,
then MGs came,
yeah.
M249, RPK. These became like really
Big
problematic.
UK,
It,
yeah,
yeah. They nerf them down a little bit. UK still, I feel, needs to. I think there's still some tweaking that needs to get done with MGs, but it would be
yeah,
so minuscule if the other guns in the game were brought up and
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a
And
par.
that's the thing is like the question that I posed was like, so are you guys like say in the 13.1 update,
Mm-hmm.
are we going to get one weapon class done, right? Because we still have SMGs,
Yeah,
pistols, and assault rifles left to do.
yeah.
And the answer was they're actually going to update all of them or rework all of them, then push it live, and then they'll
But that
visit
wasn't
machine guns.
that's
But
not how this has worked since shotguns were changed, you know? We did
yes,
shotguns, then MGs. It was supposed to be a gradual thing where we get the feedback for each weapon
yeah,
class as it comes so that we could adjust the meta and eventually make a perfectly balanced game. And
yeah,
now suddenly they've switched gears. They want to do everything all at once, and that just seems backwards to me. I don't.
I think the issue is because they're like I'm going to play kind of devil's advocate is
Yeah, for
because
sure.
you can't let's say they just rework SMGs.
Yeah.
You can't do SMGs and then say, okay, now we're going to look at machine guns, right? Because everyone's going to complain that machine guns are still meta and super strong, right? So now it's like, okay, now you got to wait for assault rifles. And like, obviously, like if they could do, let's say, assault rifles and SMGs, like forget about the pistols. Pistols, it's like it's kind of like a
pistols
niche
would be
class.
fun, but they're pretty irrelevant. Like I'd love it if they did, but
exactly,
it doesn't.
It's a niche little class where it's like I don't care. Like I've killed people with machine guns with pistols. That's fine, but it's like honestly, like the pick rate of them is pretty low enough. If you get, let's say, assault rifles with SMGs done, push that out, then you can start reevaluating. Okay, how are machine guns now? What's the meta right now? To me, that would be a good kind of like benchmark where it's like all those weapon classes are done, and now you can reevaluate and give it an honest opinion.
Yeah,
but as far as I know, and we've been told, is it's literally one person, Sweet Tsunami, who is doing all this. So I honestly don't know
and
how
I've
much
talked
work
to
it is
him.
too.
I've talked to him in DMs. I understand the what he has to go through, and I respect him a lot because of the weight that puts on his shoulders. The entire game's weapon balance is a lot. I mean, apparently he has a team under him that works for him as well, at least a small one, but it's still a lot of pressure on him specifically to make everything work, to make all these things work. It's absolutely admirable, but we need to see the results of it eventually. We can't just be hung up in this limbo where, I mean, like once again, the game's playable right now. I don't see it as like it's not unbearable for me. SG bar, when both of those were 2-shot and still full auto. This is like season 2, I think, and season 3 was when that got changed. Dude, that was unbearable to me. That was 100% unplayable because you would just get out TTK'd with any gun in the game. And I remember from 1.0 release to season 3, that was like a year where it was just a straight year where there was half the community saying no, keep it, because people are benching on these to be good players. Basically, I'm not gonna lie, like they were relying on they were running exclusively HBAR SG to keep their KDs up or whatever. But then there was the other half of the community that actually cared about the game and wanted to fix it. So eventually they got nerfed down, and that was so abysmal. And the fact that I kept playing through that is still, I'm amazed at myself for doing that, and many other players who stuck through that is very impressive. But I mean, this one, the game weapon balance could be better, but it's okay. It's bearable right now. And for me, to bring it back a little bit, like, I don't know, I just don't feel like the adrenaline shot's fine, but I think we needed something that would change the game mechanically. Like smoke grenades, I think would be the best option in terms of something that would really change that, something that would really bring something forward and change the way combat works. Every firefight would be so much different post smoke grenades. Like I really feel that in comparison to somebody who's just a little bit faster because they shot a stim. And then like, even if they decided to change their update model where it's not just a consumable, I would be fine with not getting a consumable if it meant that we would get something else. Like if we ended up getting quests or something, because my fear here, right? I love Vigor so much, and there is so much competition coming into this market, especially with Call of Duty's DMZ in the same niche. Think of like Vigor Why do people play Vigor? Because it's the casual extraction based. It's not super
Yep.
punishing for every death. I mean, it is, but it's not, like, you can get in and you can throw a loadout back on really quickly. And that's exactly what Call of Duty's aiming for. And not only is it a lot of money, but it's a lot of dev resources, and it's a lot of like
AAA studios.
Vigor's, right? Yeah, exactly. And Vigor's dropping updates every 6 months at this point, right? What is it?
It depends if you consider like mid-season updates, like the
No,
13.1
I
and
wouldn't.
whatnot.
I'd say a gun and like a season. What's the distance between seasons right now?
4 months right now.
Like
4 months. Okay.
Yeah, it's like 120 some days.
Regardless, Call of Duty is going to be dropping updates probably twice a month, and while I want to sit here and be like Vigor's going to be able to compete because it's got a great atmosphere and a great concept, it's not going to hold those players. And even right now, I don't think there's enough to keep the general populace playing it over and over again.
The only argument I would say about that though is there's been other AAA studios that have tried like an extraction based game, and it hasn't picked up. Like Battlefield had one.
Battlefield had it. Yeah, I played it too. It was terrible.
Division 2, I think, had Dark Zone. Same thing. It didn't really pick up, right?
I don't
like that
as a community. I don't want to be sitting here with my fingers crossed, praying that COD's game is bad. I want Vigor to be good enough to compete with a good game, and I don't think it can. I really don't, and I want to so badly. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to like switch to being negative at Vigor, because I've specified before I love Vigor so much, but like it's just unrealistic to assume that it can compete, and not just because they're small, but I feel like there's an element of mismanagement to it. I feel like the game itself is making some mistakes, whether that be on the developer side or the community side. It leads to Vigor digging its own grave, quote unquote. And I
don't think it's like digging its own grave, because there's always new people coming aboard type thing.
Yeah.
But
and I hate the phrase "this game is dying." This game is dying. It's been overused so much.
It's like
that's
someone
clickbait.
in the top 10.
Exactly.
Someone in the top 10 of kills or something like that. Game is dead or something.
Yeah,
like that
game is dead.
And I'm like, dude. I'm like, come on. I'm like, there's new people on the top 10 like all the time for things. But anyways,
the leaderboard I don't care about that.
Like with your like two kind of like mentions there, like mismanagement or whatnot, like I honestly think it's the team's kind of been in limbo. Like, again, I'm going to play kind of devil's advocate.
Please do. Yes,
we had Petka around for what, 3 years?
Yes,
2-3 years, right?
Yep,
Since the inception. It was his brainchild, right? And then he left, and then we had Clo-Fi come in, and they left. But honestly, like, I've never heard of someone being promoted to executive producer or being hired
as far as I'm aware. Yeah.
And to me, that concerns me, because like Clo-Fi was around for a year and a half, roughly, maybe 2 years. I could be wrong. And it's like, but there's no continuity, right? Like that. I think that's one issue, is there is a lot of fluidity at the top. And I think that is actually hurting.
There's no direction. When you switch hands this much, this fast, the original vision that somebody has is ultimately going to get deteriorated. And I don't think it's easy to work towards a common goal when you have all these different feedback, whether that be from Bohemia corporate, quote unquote, or like all other people who have stayed at the studio. Even it's just, I feel like there's so many different viewpoints on what direction the game needs to go in that office, that it's not leading to a good experience for us, the players, at the end.
And like you said, I'm concerned because we like, is it like decision making in tandem, in like teams type thing, where it's like all the developers are kind of like chatting around, and it's like, okay, let's put this to a vote type thing. But
Yeah.
it's like you don't have a lot of the original developers. I feel like there's been a lot of turnover on the team too, so you don't have those players who have been there since the beginning. Where it's like I'll bring up Hunt Showdown.
Yeah.
Most of the developers on that team, they're OGs from like the original inception. There's not been a ton of movement type thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And Vigor, though, it's like Pekka left. There's a number of people who left. You've had people come and go too since then. And I think there's been some really good hires. Like Johanny, I think he's doing a really
excellent.
good job,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Whenever he's on a dev stream, absolutely love it. He is
Most
very
receptive.
informative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Loves like when he gives like technical explanations to stuff. It's like I love it. But like you see the change in the mindset of the team because you have some of the newer hires who like Vigor was always meant to be realistic, but within the confines of
but accessible.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but now like you ask for like you mentioned stuff and they're like it's just a video game. Like for example, the running around with a machine gun with no weight restrictions or anything like that, and they're like, well, it's just a video game. And
a game that's original vision was to be tactical and kind of have a bit of that atmosphere. It really needs to lean into atmosphere because that is Vigor's strength, in my opinion. So when you start to take away all these elements of realism slowly, over time, I feel it definitely takes away from the experience for the player. And you combine this mismanagement and this moving around in the dev team, right, with the community who's in the chat screaming about why their shelter looks different, and they're no longer asking the right questions in those meetings. Like people they're not voting on the right things anymore. It's not about like I don't know. I can't give a specific for that because I'm not in that room. I don't know what it looks like in there. I mean, I've talked to some devs, but I'm not like super involved with it. And as a content creator, I'm not afraid of Vigor going down, like not to say dead, but like I think Vigor, unless something seriously changes, will never reach the same peak player or attention throughout YouTube and everything. Like I think something drastic needs to change in order for them to build up a strong player base again. And I don't, as a content creator, that doesn't concern me because I have other outlets. I have all these other games I can go to. But as a player, that makes me really sad because this is where I started content creation. This is one of the things I'm most passionate about. And I want to play it. I still want to play it. And I want to see it come to that original vision. Like that original vision right at the start was, it fell short because of bugs. It fell short because of lack of weapon balance. It fell short because it didn't have developer resources. So now, after all these years of switching hands and whatnot, it should have the resources to build that vision. But mismanagement and the community have led it down a different path, in my opinion. And that's where I stand with it. It's
and sort of along the whole thing is and you see this in Tarkov too.
Oh, for sure. Tarkov is
what I'm talking about is like I'm talking about like the release time. So like they switched to the
absolutely
the 4-month release time, the 3 releases a year, and it's like you could see it a bit before when they were they had to extend out seasons sometimes. You get so many people, like a season comes out and everybody's back in the game, right? And Tarkov does this thing too. When they do a wipe, everyone's back in the game, and it's like strong and strong and strong. Yeah, but then after like a month or even 2 months, it starts to wane, and then people are off playing other things, and
Tarkov's is more toxic because of gear development, in my opinion, with the way that like, I can be playing Tarkov in the first week of a wipe and it is so much fun, and then you get now, right? I've played a lot this wipe, and nowadays if you're not running good ammo every raid, you are really struggling, and you are not going to like, even if you outplay people, doesn't matter. They have better gear than you, and it's gonna dink off their armor, and it's not gonna do as much. Like it's very frustrating. And Tarkov, when it comes to dev mismanagement, I heard about they released the first trailer and screenshots of Streets of Tarkov almost a year ago now, and I still think we're at least 6 months out from ever getting our hands on that map as players.
Yeah.
And Vigor, I'm glad they don't tease stuff that early, because that would really piss me off. But
yeah, they don't really tease much at all. They don't tease anything.
No, they don't outright, like, they're not. They're not misleading.
It's 2 weeks before the season drop, if not less. So
exactly.
True.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, we're what, 2 months now into? Is it 2 months into the new season now, approximately?
I think we have like about
February's
90
next
days
season.
left.
February's next season.
Yeah.
So I was kind of curious about season length, and I'm looking at like Fortnite season lengths, and pretty much all of them are like 3 months.
Yeah.
Too. So that's an extra month. But there are like you said, there maybe not necessarily quest lines, but like dailies. There's like monthlies or seasonal challenges and stuff like that. I think the latest updates going to help that, but
we'll see. I mean,
I don't know. There's
But when I look at the people I follow, like in Twitch or whatnot, they're all playing on something else by now. Like there's still people play Vigor for sure. They switch. People have gotten to the point where, okay, well, who knows? Maybe when 13.1 comes out, they'll be back. But that's what I mean. Like the length thing. If they went back to like maybe a 3-month window and stuck to it, not just.
I'd take less content more frequently for sure. Right now, in comparison to what we have right now, I'd absolutely take less content more frequently. And like, I mean, they say that these longer seasons help polish them, but the seasons have always released pretty buggy. So I mean,
this one was not the like. I want to say this is like the first season of the new cycle type thing, where like since the announcement, and it's like, I'm not gonna lie, like there are minor bugs type thing, but I'm like, they're very like noticeable. And again,
after
like
this much time with this little change, I feel like it should be polished on release though. And I mean, and as like you mentioned, like maybe more stuff other than like a new consumable, but like we don't know who, like maybe it's a different part of the team that absolutely.
Like,
and I understand
like we don't know the structure, but
team allocation gets overlooked all the time in terms of like, oh, stop producing like new. I you know what I mean? Like people definitely see dev resources as one singular cohesive glob, where it needs to be looked at as different parts of the team are working on different things. So you need to, they work at different paces. And even still though, like, I don't know, for me right now, it's not, if I was a casual player who did not make content on the game, I really don't think I'd be playing Vigor all that much, mostly because it's player retention. I feel like other games offer more to me in terms of a gameplay loop that's enjoyable, in terms of things to work towards in the long run. Like Hunt has these events that come in and you can work towards them. And like, it's just Vigor.
Hunt doesn't really have seasons, right? Hunt is literally like occasional events. Like I don't know how many events per season type thing. But like you looked at this Halloween quest line that came out, it's only 2 weeks, and people complained that it was literally only 2 weeks. And not like the Serpent Moon, which was, I forget what, like a month or 2 months or something like that. So but
I still though, I feel like Hunt Showdown drops a lot more guns and maybe not consumables and whatnot, but definitely weapons. It drops more. Man, I feel like there's more to do in Hunt right now. I'm not gonna lie to you. That could be misplaced. That could be wrong, but it.
So my question would be, like you mentioned, like there's not much more to do in Vigor, right?
In Vigor, yeah.
In Vigor, but for a new person coming in, like literally, like you have your whole new shelter.
That's true.
Upgrade,
That's true.
right? So I think part of the issue is like it's for veterans. People have been playing it for the longest time, and
I'm
it's
a
like,
part
honestly,
of the veteran bracket, so I understand that for
yes,
sure.
yeah, and it's like even at that, like once you max out your shelter, like really, it's like you're just going for whatever stat on the leaderboard
That's
you
just
want, or just
completionism, though. So, what is maxing out your shelter worth? What does that do in gameplay to make you want to do more? But and I'm not even saying that needs to give you an advantage. You don't need a unique gun or anything for finishing your shelter.
No.
I just feel like from my vision,
but you get the perks.
Yeah, you get the perks, I guess. But
you know, like
even you get a ton of
whatnot.
materials, right? You get a ton of materials. You get all these materials things maxed out. I already, even casually playing Vigor without any shelter, I guarantee you my material count would be big enough to maintain my regular gameplay. Maybe that's untrue for everybody, but like,
well, unless you're literally just running in and looking for gunfights type thing.
Yeah. Like, I think materials, like, and that's when I said earlier something big needs to change with Vigor. I would take a food system overhaul, a material system overhaul, like anything like that, where like say they added, it doesn't even need to be an NPC or anything, but like a trader where you could buy guns directly using food. I would love something like that. And this is just like spitballing. Like these are not like concrete ideas that I've fleshed out, but just something more, another system to grind for that would give a pushback in game, like which i.e. means something to get guns or consumables that I would need to grind for alternatively, besides just going into an elim round, being like the third best on my winning team and getting gold crates. Therefore I have gold guns for days, and I'm not even going to say I dislike that because basically what that did, me and Chris have talked about rarity a lot as well, and how at this point it's deleted. I mean, it's kind of very not existed in the past, but now it's just completely leveled the playing field. Like I would say most gold gun or most purple guns, not necessarily gold are still kind of rare, but like I would consider purple or gold guns to be just as common, if not more, than green and blue. And that, why does rarity exist at this point? Like guns are balanced accordingly. An M60 can stand up to a VSS in a firefight, in my opinion. And like all these guns are balanced as if rarity doesn't exist. So why does rarity still need to exist?
Right. Yeah.
And that's like a completely different conversation, but I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts when it comes to Vigor, whether that be in meta, whether that be in content pushing cycle from the devs, or content creation cycle on my end, and the other streamer and YouTubers end of things. Like, it's a very interesting game.
I just feel like resource wise, they're not given enough. Like,
I agree.
I feel like I don't know how it's structured at Bohemia, but I almost feel like literally it's whatever revenue you generate, it's like stays on your team. And if you're not making a ton of like revenue, you're not growing. Right.
See, that doesn't make sense to me, because how many sales Vigor must have? For how much Vigor sells, right, in crowns and stuff, I don't think that team is giving how much it's made. It seems like it's going somewhere else to me. Like,
you think so?
I feel like if I had to put this guess to words, and Chris has talked to me about this as well, I feel like probably maybe not a specific number, but like half Vigor's revenue is probably going to Arma or other development teams. I really feel like it's being redistributed and not going directly back into Vigor. If you think differently, I'd love to hear.
I don't know, because I feel like they should get more resources, like money,
absolutely,
staff, whatever. But like that's why I kind of feel like either they're not generating enough revenue, or maybe that's the case. Maybe Bohemia is taking like a cut and it's sending it elsewhere
Yeah.
type thing. I honestly don't know.
I think
And
that
have they ever has
yeah.
any numbers ever been released on how much
Oh
they
yes.
make
There
on
was-
crowns at all?
No, not
No.
not exactly that, but there was a number. I forget. They put something out at one of these conventions. It was like a graphic on their Twitter where it was like,
Yeah.
Daisy was like the most players. Arma 3 was like the most popular rated or whatever, and Vigor was the top grossing Bohemia game in like
Oh,
2019. Really? Yeah. And I think it was 2019 or 2020. It made the most money out of all the other Bohemia games. And that to me, where did that money go if not back into Vigor?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like probably Arma 4 if you're looking at that, but Arma 4 also like has Arma Reforger's dev cycle, which Chris has been covering on a weekly basis pretty much, has also been pretty shaky, and it doesn't seem like Arma Reforger is getting any of these resources, which should be the predecessor to Arma 4. And I don't know where the money is going. Like I feel like Vigor is definitely pulling its weight revenue wise and making enough money to deserve more resources than it has, but it's not getting those. And it's hard because we don't have numbers. If we had numbers,
exactly,
that would be so easy to say. But
it's like, I think about it. It's like, you know, there's some people who literally will just grind like shootout or elims to get like a ton of crowns, and they won't spend a dime on the game, right?
Yeah,
like it is easy to like generate your own crowns without paying in.
I still see a lot of $100 skins though out there. You know, I feel like a lot of people are buying these big spender packs, and over all these years too.
But like, I find you see more since they dropped the price, right? Because some of them dropped to like $20, $30 instead of 100 or 120 Canadian. But I honestly don't know.
And I still see people buying their way through the battle passes though too. I really feel. Oh yeah. Day 1 or day 2 of the battle pass, people 70, 75. At least not this season, but last season and the season before that, especially like season 10 with Lars and whatnot. I remember seeing like day 2 of the battle pass, like people at max level. And yeah, you could say that's grind, but I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah. Maybe the level, like the level 50 battle passes, but I can't see 75.
Yeah, no.
But unless it's those people who like literally grind the battle pass.
Yeah.
Or not the battle pass, but like elim crates, shootout crates to get all those crowns.
Yeah.
Then they just end up buying it.
That would be crazy.
Well, you got,
and it's still
you get people sitting on like hundreds of crates, right? So they just who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, no, like one reason why I kind of think that maybe they don't generate enough revenue is you look at some of the mechanics they released recently, right? Like the insta crafting for crowns, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Stuff like that.
It seems like something to leverage more.
Are they trying to monetize more? Like I don't, and same thing with the limbs. Like I don't consider it pay to win necessarily.
No, me neither.
Like I think it's flirting with it, but I think it's just monetization. Yeah, that's all it is. So that's why I kind of think sometimes that maybe
and some people that's gotten them throwing up in arms, and they're like, fuck this game, I don't like it anymore. Sorry for cursing, but it's just like I don't find it that big of a deal personally. Like it doesn't bother me that much. It doesn't change the way I play the game. If I have a fast enough thumb, I'll get your elim loadout before you anyways. But it's decisions like these that make me think maybe they're not making enough. But if that's the case, I'd like to hear that in dev streams. I'd like to hear more about like what are the specific shortcomings, but I guess that's not a good marketing thing to say.
No, I don't think it's not a good marketing. It doesn't look good. Like honestly, like literally they 1 or 2 dev streams ago, they literally said our dev team has 26 people on it. We haven't heard they always say we're a small team, but they've never actually said the number before. And like I said, I've been around for 2.5 years, and this is the first time they actually specify how many people, because it was almost like, I don't want to say a guarded secret, but it's something they didn't want to like put out there. Maybe like, cause they didn't want to use it as an excuse type thing. But
yeah, I still feel like they
it's
use
like,
it as an excuse, to be honest, to bench a
yeah,
lack of content, like, or to excuse a lack of content in a lot of areas.
mhm,
But like, and to excuse mistakes, like
yeah,
an update release is buggy. Oh, we're a small team, and like, I don't blame them for that. But at the same time, you've been doing this a long time now. I feel like at least. I've seen this cycle happen over and over again with each update from day one. And I feel like at this point something needs to have changed or been ironed out to improve
yeah,
this update cycle. But it's
yeah,
just not there yet.
no.
It really isn't.
Like, and who knows, maybe it comes down to like the leadership thing again. If there's
Yeah.
no executive producer,
That
where it's
makes
like,
a lot of sense for sure. Yeah. The lack of an
because
executive
like,
producer definitely can do that.
yeah, because I don't know, like I said, if you have a bunch of people on the boat kind of just saying like, hey, how about we do this, and it's like everyone putting stuff to the vote, it's like maybe like you said, the right priorities aren't being made.
Yeah.
Oh, and steering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily steering, but it's more like the captain saying like, hey, listen, knock it off, this is where we're going,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is what
Yeah.
we're doing.
Exactly.
So
Overall,
Yeah.
I think there just needs to be more direction in it, and that direction should be communicated better to the community instead of dev streams where they just kind of mindlessly rattle off about like nothing and like
so part of my issue with the dev streams is,
yeah,
they ask for questions and stuff like that, which is great because they have time to prepare. The issue is, again, it's the community asking the same questions
yeah,
over and over and over again, and like I almost feel like I would be knocking my head against the wall
oh
if
yeah,
I had to answer these
absolutely,
questions all over and over again, because again, it would be mundane where it's like, oh, when are you guys taking or nerfing Noob Shield? It's like, once again,
it doesn't
it is
exist. Yeah,
it does not exist, right?
Yeah.
Like there was one time I remember like Pirate like literally like rolled her eyes, and I thought like her head, they were going to like do like a 360 and roll
yeah,
back
yeah,
because of like how like tiring it is literally answering that like
yeah,
question over and over again, right?
and
Like,
I feel they need to like. I'm not gonna say stop listening to the community, but like there need in a lot of these dev streams in particular, I feel like instead of just filling it with these repeated questions, just give us raw information about what is happening,
yep,
what is being worked on. Say like, and this doesn't need to be a spoiler. I think there's definitely a middle ground where like you could keep the future content hidden while still talking
yep,
about what teams are working on, because we're still just
yep.
kept so in the dark in so
You,
many areas about what's coming next, and not just
you
like
know,
yeah,
you know what one of my favorite dev streams were is
that's it.
when after they released I think it was a mid-season update,
Mm-hmm.
and they had improved vaulting and climbing or something like that,
Yep.
and literally they pulled up like the real engine like
Yeah.
screenshots of like all the tests they did of
Mm-hmm.
like
And side by sides and whatnot.
someone literally jumping through a window like I don't know how like 50 times, and
Uh-huh.
actually showed the path that it actually took type thing, just
Yeah.
to show
And
collision and
that's
stuff
what
like
we
that.
need to see. We
I
need
was
to
like, oh my
see
god,
the
this is so cool.
because
Yeah,
that shows us what is changing. It shows us the
Yep.
tangible sides of updates instead of just words on a screen. Like and
Yep.
it's it makes the community happier when
Yeah.
you can see that. It lets you see what they were working on, what this time is worth in between seasons and whatnot. And
Yep.
it's when you don't touch on those things, when you don't show those things, it's not apparent to the community, and they get antsy and they rant about pointless nonsense basically.
Yep. Yeah. But yeah, the data stuff I love type thing, but
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
except for the I'm not gonna lie, the community feedback survey, when they talked about like how like,
Yeah.
oh, jump shotting is not an issue because like
Yeah.
I forget what percentage, and I'm just like, yeah, but people who went kind of like meh, like, do you want to actually include as in like they don't care, or
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
it's like they don't like it type thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways, like those I wasn't a huge fan of, but
Yeah.
yeah. Personally, jump shotting I don't like. But anyways, nonetheless.
I think we live in in Vigor. We still exist with a very ancient movement system that could still use a lot of tweaks in terms of like just how it works in the way that your aim and movement work together. You know, if that makes sense. Like, uh, jump shotting is the best example of like, I don't know. I feel like it should be slower. I feel like it should have a little bit of sway to it, a little bit of recoil increase if you're in the air or whatever,
Oh,
you
for
know.
sure.
And yeah, and like
Yep.
it's just things like this that make it feel less realistic, less inertia, less weight is than it should be in a game that's not hardcore and tactical, but still like they get too caught up in this niche where they tend to cherry pick what real cherry picked realism is an issue I see in Tarkov a lot too, in both the dev team and the community for what people want changed, right? And like some people want this aspect of movement to be realistic while others want this aspect to be arcadey, and
Yeah.
that just creates such a conflict every time the devs want community feedback that the community feedback becomes worthless very quickly because not just that there are opposing views, but like everybody's at a different point on the spectrum of what they think Vigor should be in that balance of realism to arcadey, and that just it all comes back to that lack of vision or lack of focus.
And honestly too, like you look at like veteran players versus like new players too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like anyone newer coming in or like, I love jump shotting. I like I'm not gonna lie, like it seems like the people that I see enjoying jump shotting are newer to the game. And not that I want to say they don't like understand the history of Vigor where it was more realistic type thing or is supposed to be more realistic.
Oh, it's definitely a different demographic, right? Though. It definitely sees a different game than I originally started with. And,
100%. And like I'm not gonna blame it all on the PlayStation players, but there was definitely a change in culture in the community once PlayStation came aboard. They're probably cursing at me right now and whatnot, but like
well, at least there's no crossplay yet with them.
I find if you look at their gameplay style, literally for the most part, most of them is literally just run and gun. Who cares about looting? Who cares about whatnot? Like extracting with the drop. It's like just give me them kills and get me out of here type thing.
And that's what makes it so hard for me to record a lot of those cinematic things. It's like if I'm out here trying to record a cinematic, if I'm trying to get something that looks realistic and tactical, and then somebody comes at me with a red tracksuit and they're jump shotting with a M249, like it's very, then all that entire lobby, right, that I just went through, all completely worthless because I either died or lost a fight to somebody, or whether I die or even win the fight, it's still like this is out of the tone of the video. This does not match the rest of the footage. This does not match what I'm trying to go for here, and as a result, it's not. This footage is tainted, quote unquote, by sweats who love to run around. It's a lot.
Well,
it's a very complex thing.
Just think of this: when DMZ comes out, you can go into the Call of Duty version and start sliding around.
I'm
assuming that's gonna be a part of it, right? You'd slide everywhere.
Agree. I've been playing this new COD, and I mean, it's still very arcadey. It's still Call of Duty, but like, I'm very impressed in terms of like from previous CODs to this one. They've definitely dialed it back in terms of like jump shotting. You jumping corners, you have I think it's 40% reduction to your ADS speed if you're in air while trying to ADS. And same with just movement and the way audio works too. It all definitely is promoting slower gameplay. So if any of these studios, right, could pull off the medium between realistic and casual. I think Call of Duty has the best shot of doing it. And then in comparison to Battlefield was destined to fail from the start in its attempt at extraction, just because of the mismanagement and the bare bones of the game. Right, 2042 is just awful, and like the gunplay feels so terrible. I played that on release too, and that was just like so disappointing and so painful to play. But multiplayer in Modern Warfare 2 actually is pretty good, and if they at least in my opinion, I'm sure others disagree, but in terms of what has the structure to be built into a actual tactical experience, quote unquote, this is much better than, say, if they tried to do that with Modern Warfare 2019 or COD Vanguard or any of these other ones. Like if they tried to do an extraction with any of those other ones, it would be so much worse than what they're going to try with this one, I think, because of that core movement system has been changed to almost accommodate for DMZ. But, it's all speculation. We'll see what ends up happening with it. Either way, Vigor's got big competition. And like I said, to summarize a lot, I think Vigor does need to change, because right now it works. It's functional. There's still going to be a core player base no matter what happens, I think. And the game is never going to, quote unquote, die. But it still is going to lose in its niche, and I don't want to see that happen. I want to see it actually be a competitor to Call of Duty, and I hope it does. I hope both games do well, but we'll see. We'll see who wins, quote unquote.
For me, for Call of Duty, it's going to come down to I'm going to try it out for sure, of course.
Yeah.
It's going to be what it comes down, what it does after you extract and before you go into a match.
Oh, for sure.
What's happening in between? Is there anything like right now with Hunt, right? This
the events.
Like it's more about the in game than it is the out game.
In Tarkov, it's about quests, but the UI holds it back. Like I said earlier, in Vigor, the UI is really good. The UI is really streamlined, but I don't think there's enough main big picture going for Vigor to make it more replayable. And what DMZ could pull, if DMZ has that big picture and has a streamlined UI, then it will be very successful. But if it lacks in any of those, I think it's going to be not very good. Exactly. Like
and that's
I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably not going to give COD a shot. Like I'll wait and see. I've been wait and see for a number of games type thing. I just honestly, I stopped playing COD like 15 years ago because they always felt the same. And even though this is a new game mode, it's like I'm going to wait and see. I talked about it before the podcast, or before we started recording. Like my playing time is limited, so it's valuable
for sure.
So I want to, whatever I'm playing, is like I want to know.
You want to pick the best experience for sure. Absolutely.
And right now, Vigor, Hunt, those are dominating my time because I enjoy playing both of them. It's I don't like battle royales. Give me something, survival's key. If Modern Warfare ends up being decent or good type thing, maybe I'll dabble in it. But I gotta wait and see. I'll check out streams and whatnot, and then I'll reevaluate my position type thing.
We'll see. I'll definitely try it out. Whether or not that leads to a video or whatnot depends on the quality of it. But
and then I'll make my decision, Bobo.
What
did Bobo say?
Well, and that's the thing too. It's also free to play. That's definitely the reason I will try it out. Because if I had to pay to get it, as when they first came out with their battle royale, and that was what when was that? That was
a few years ago.
Yeah, it was a few years ago. It was the first version.
Early 2020, I think, was when.
And you had to. You had to actually buy that game to get access to the battle royale at that time, and I did it because I was curious. This is before Vigor and all that, and I was curious what their battle royale was like, and it was okay.
Wait, which one? Battlefield? You talking about?
No,
COD.
Really? The COD's first battle royale. Well, I thought I'm pretty sure you did. Yeah.
Oh! Black Ops 3.
Yes.
One?
That's Black Ops 3.
Yeah.
That was their first battle royale.
Blackout. That's what its name was.
That was what the
Yeah,
battle royale was
there you
called,
go.
Blackout. Yeah.
Yeah, I never played that one.
And it was okay. It wasn't like it didn't draw me in that I had to keep playing it, but it was whatever. But you had to buy the game, and at that point, it's like
a
it's kind of
paywall
expensive.
is the biggest wall of all.
Yeah,
sure.
it was. And after that, like for COD, for me, from my history with COD, it was mostly about playing some of the campaigns, right? Like World of War and all those. I like the World of War ones and all that, but
Yep.
I didn't go beyond those really. But anyways, that's sort of separate from all this.
They've taken enough of my money that I'm done with them.
Essentially.
But since this DMZ is going to be free to play, I'll give it a shot. I'll try it because I want to see what they're doing. I want to experience. Okay, when I go into the game, what am I doing? How are they taking me through the game? How are they teaching me to play the game? So I can, so I know,
And you have a good comparison point with Vigor, especially. You understand what an extraction shooter is supposed to look like. You have a point of reference for what niche they're trying to fill, and whether or not they do that successfully, I feel us as Vigor players, we have a better point of reference to understand how well they actually pull this off, if they do.
Yeah, and then you got the two extremes again. Vigor being the one that actually has new player introduction. If you go through it, right, it has like the voice that has telling you what to do, how the game basically works. It may not be perfect, but it's something. Then you got Tarkov, which has like nothing. You have your quest lines, which give you a little bit, but not much. Like there's barely any info, and you got to like, okay, you're going in cold. Good luck.
Go for it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Is COD cross-platform? Or you just play?
No, it's
well. I didn't think it was fully.
Well, you can like select to not. You can opt out of it.
Okay.
And actually, I think if you were to take a keyboard and mouse and plug it right into your console, then you would be automatically put into lobbies with PCs. Yeah, but also it goes back. If you were to be playing with a controller on a PC, then you'd be put with console people. But PlayStation and Xbox is definitely crossed, no matter what.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have the resources to do that kind of thing, whereas
for sure. When it comes to networking, especially, and just like the server potential to do
their
that,
resources,
exactly, much higher than Bohemia's.
You guys heard though that Tarkov announced like they're going to console like earlier this season or earlier this year.
They've been announcing.
Are they?
For years.
They said it like a long time ago that the plan was, but apparently I think it was earlier this year they actually said like, oh yeah, it's happening or whatever, and it's like I'm not gonna lie.
Until there's an actual console in someone or controller in someone's hand.
Until I would not want to play it on console.
Have fun doing like 37 binds on your controller.
Exactly. And I was talking to, I think it was Dizzy, because we were talking about Enlisted, right? And Cursed, and it's like both those games originated on PC and they got ported to consoles. And I'm like, you look at the UI and I'm like, literally this just oozes that it was a PC. And it's like, I'm like, that's one of the biggest reasons why like I stopped playing Enlisted was
how one could manage the Tetris boxes of Tarkov with a controller would be downright sour.
Yeah, it's going to be
it's gonna be a nightmare. That's why like I would not look forward to it as much. I found Vigor because of Tarkov, right? I wanted to play Tarkov on console, and it's like, okay, I'm like, awesome, like I got Vigor, but I'm like, I'm looking at it. It's like, no, there's
that
no way.
And optimization, dude. Optimization on Tarkov is such a nightmare as is. I cannot play Lighthouse at all. Like, and every other map is fine. I hold over 60 FPS, and I mean, I have a 4 GB card, so yeah, I could upgrade, but it's not like outrageous. It definitely doesn't like. If I can run other maps, then it's clearly an optimization issue and not a hardware issue in that. And I know people with 30 series cards that also cannot run Lighthouse or cannot run a specific map just because of being badly optimized. I could not imagine the optimization nightmare that would come on console because It's
And I don't
just-
know if it's still a thing with Tarkov. It used to be, and this is quite a while ago. If you really wanted to get, well, especially for people who maybe had older PCs, to get the
Yeah.
best performance out of it, you had to like turn off multi-threading. That was a thing at one point.
Oh,
I don't
it's
know if
so
that's
many
still a thing or
things,
not.
dude. It's so many things.
Yeah.
It's, whether it be multi-threading, whether it be download a RAM cleaner, whether it
Yeah.
be turning on your FPS counter in game will decrease your FPS. It's
Yeah.
something different every update, and I
yeah.
mean, it's very
People literally make YouTube videos every wipe to like
Yeah.
Oh
you know,
yeah,
give
best
the
optimization,
best-
and I watch
yeah,
them and
exactly.
do them.
Yeah, I have a bunch of buddies who have like Tarkov, and like
Uh-huh.
I know every like after every wipe or every drop or whatever, it's like they're
It's a
like,
different
okay, check
issue.
out this video from this guy here because it's like this is the best one.
Best
This fixed all my
optimizations,
problems.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's
I was
brutal.
like, okay. Well, you know what? I think this is a good place to stop. We're all over the
Yeah.
place now, so it's just
we're on like a direction at some point. What?
yeah, I know. We did. We had in the middle there. We had a bit of a good direction talking about Vigor.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then-
you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a good convo, and it was mostly me listening, but I didn't mind that. It was good. But-
Dude, I can rattle off for hours about so many details when it comes to Vigor. Over all these years, I remember freaking spring or summer of 2019 getting the channel first started, and like watching Vigor grow over all these years, watching all these people come and go and whatnot. It's been such a journey, and I know I can talk about so many aspects, whether that be in literal gameplay or in the marketing sides of things, or in the other avenues of it. To see, it's very respectable to see you guys come in with a podcast format, because I've seen it so much in other games, but Vigor is one of the points where nobody else does this. Nobody else sits down and talks about Vigor in full form like you guys, and that's why I came on the show.
Oh, no, we appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out. No, that's awesome. But yeah, this has been our conversation with Boborail. So part of this episode is a week late from our normal episodes, so we'll have to see what's going to do to our next schedule. If we'll see, we'll talk about it behind scenes if we're going to release again next week or wait 2 weeks from now. But thanks for listening, like usual. Please like, share, subscribe again, and comment. Let us know how it went, what you thought, and anything what you think of the current season of Vigor. After this conversation, did we trigger anything with you? Did you have any thoughts that you wanted to add in? We'd love to hear them. So send them down in the comments. But as usual, I am Dr. Anton. With me is
DJ Spencer.
DJ Spencer, and with us today has been
Boborail.
All right. Everyone have a great evening. Thanks for listening, and stay safe in the Outlands.
Yep.
Good night.
Bye.
I've heard you say you lost your way again. You don't see your reflection. Just look around and find at least something good. All you need will come to you. I'll never refuse you. Take whatever you want, so just get a hold. I know you'll find your way. No need to go the same. and flame up your dreams.